Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marc, and joining me as always, a man who once told Brett Veach, you know what? I think the D-line is good. My brother Mike.
You know what? I did say that, Mark. It has been very good. You fair weather fan piece of shit.
The D-line?
I'm worried. I'm worried.
I'm worried. I got to be honest.
Those are
I'm
my
worried.
fears speaking out there because I am worried, as many of us are, about our beloved Chiefs defensive line. But you know what? I'm also worried about the Royals playoff chances. So you just drink through it. I mean, get through it. You know?
Yeah, you get through it. You just get through it. You focus on one at a time, and eventually you'll be riddled with anxiety. And it'll be great. You don't even know where it's coming from. It's coming from so many places you won't even know where. It's great.
That's right.
This is the baseball podcast, though, Royals Weekly. So we're going to talk about baseball. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss the lopsided week from the Boys in Blue. They dropped a series, won a series, but it looked real good at times and not good at other times. We're going to focus in on the rotation of Jack Caglianone and Carter Jensen, a little hot topic for the first week they've been in Major League Baseball, and seeing how much they've been used and how much they've not been used. A little bit there, yeah.
And I'm just going to give you a little preview, y'all. That's going to be more of a venting session. Okay.
It's going to be a little ranty, a little venty.
Teaser.
That's okay. A little foreshadowing for you there. And then, of course, we'll also preview a very important road trip for the Royals coming up this week. They go to Cleveland and Philadelphia. I mean, all the series are very important at this point, but this is a tough one, and they need wins. And so we'll take a look at that. We do want to remind you to go ahead and subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. $5 a month. That's not even a cup of coffee most places. $5 a month, and you get 2 extra episodes a week. You get a midweek episode from me. You get a Mike's Drop episode solo from Mike. You get a post every week, a written post, which I put out today, which had tons of interesting stuff on Jack Caglianone and Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek. That trade, looking back on that. And so you get tons of extra content, $5 a month, royalsweekly.substack.com. It's the best way to support this podcast. That money goes directly to us to help put back into the show. It's wonderful. So please, we really appreciate those subs. We love talking to everybody on the Substack. Always make sure you're rating and reviewing us as well, right? We still haven't gotten an Apple Podcast review in a while. Would love to get one of those. Would love to read one of those on the episode like we do. It's really our best way of getting to hear back from you. And so if you can find an Apple device, go to the Apple Podcast place, write us a little review, give us 5 stars, be as funny as you want, as serious as you want, and whether way, we'll appreciate it either way. Thank you. Royals Weekly is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. I get an email every other day telling me somebody's broken into somewhere of my online stuff.
I don't trust email, but I get letters in the mail that says somebody has breached data at some place I've been
Right.
at.
It's always something. It's always something or another. It's not easy. There's an anxiety with it. Sometimes I wonder about this internet, man. Not so sure.
I just get under my bed to hide away from it.
That makes sense. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting HIT to 64000. The only way to get that 20% off of Delete Me is to text HIT to 64000. That's HIT to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. We, of course, start the review of last week with roster news. So there were a couple tidbits in there. One pretty significant one. Seth Lugo went on the 15-day IL with a low back strain. He hasn't looked right for several weeks now. Stephen Kolek was recalled in his place, which could happen. You'll remember that Kolek started a game last week, and so when he was demoted, normally he wouldn't get to come back for 15 days. But because he's replacing an injured player, he can come back faster. And so they put Lugo on the IL, and that allows Kolek to come back. He came back and threw a real nice game for the Royals last night that Mike and I went to. Mike, what are your thoughts on seeing Lugo go down to the IL and Kolek back up in the major leagues?
Well, my thoughts are exactly what you kind of alluded to, which is I hope that that's the reason why he has been not as good since he signed that extension, and that some rest just gets him back to normal. That's my hope. real happy with what I've seen from Kolek, especially as the guy, like, I've been saying this since we traded for him. I like this other guy we got in the Padres trade. Bergert's been fantastic. I really like what he's doing as well. But when those two came in, I was going, don't give up on this Kolek guy. Like, he can have some real value. He's not going to strike a ton of guys out, but he's going to get a shitload of ground balls, and he's not going to walk anybody. And that can be really, really helpful. We saw him give up, a big home run, I think, last night, if I remember right. But, he was damn good and damn efficient. And when you have an infield defense,
He didn't give up a home run. I believe he gave up
he
a
did.
double and then a triple, and then
Oh
a
yeah, you're
ground
right.
ball got
Then
Buxton
a single, I think,
or a single maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, like, that's the thing. He's going to give you a shot to be in games most of the time. And I'm actually a little surprised by the Arsenal. I didn't think it was going to be as good. I knew he had a good two seamer, obviously, and that creates a lot of the ground balls that he gets and stuff. But I've been happy with the changeup. I've been happy with some of the other stuff. And yeah, I don't want to say I built the Stephen Kolek bandwagon, but I'm definitely on the damn thing.
Yeah. Clearly, he's going all in on Kolek. Kolek is a good back end profile. I mean, you like a back end profile that can limit damage, that can limit big innings. And Kolek, because he doesn't walk a lot of guys and he generates a lot of ground balls, that tends to keep home run rates down. And of course, it keeps free guys off the bases, which means when they do score, you limit how much they score, right? So it's one thing for a guy to hit a solo home run. It's another thing to hit a 3-run home run because you walk the two guys in front of them. And so yeah, Kolek will give up his share of base hits because some of those balls that are hit on the ground are hit pretty damn hard. But for a guy who's filling in and who, isn't in their like rotation plans immediately, he's doing a good job filling in. He's showing that he can be a depth piece in the rotation, and he's showing that if he was your last starter in your 5-man rotation, you probably wouldn't hate that. You probably wouldn't be
Yeah.
too mixed up about it.
Yeah. And he's going to be I equate him to a Michael Lorenzen, and he's going to be cheaper. So
yeah. And very importantly, he also has 2 more option years after this remaining. And so that's going to make it possible to move him up and down to AAA for 2 more years. He's 28 already, but he made it to the major leagues pretty late, I think. Also on the IL front, Jonathan India went to the 10-day injured list with a left wrist sprain. This is one of the things that made it possible for them to bring both Carter Jensen and Jack Caglianone back to Major League Baseball. Mike, what are your thoughts on seeing India go down to the IL?
I think he can. Well, seeing him going down to the IL is like, you don't love it because he is a guy, a right-handed bat that you can use in certain situations. We don't love the glove anywhere, but he's not the worst hitter in this group. I mean, so you hate to see him go down. I do think with how the Royals have played and what has gone on, I do think his kind of stature in the lineup is sinking a little bit with the emergence of Mike Yastrzemski and with the addition of Randall Grichuk, though he hasn't been all that good, and with Michael Massey back, who can also play second base and left field. I think maybe he's better. Yeah, he can. I think his maybe stature has bumped down a little bit, but he's still a guy that when he comes back can help you out against lefties because we don't have a lot of great right-handed bats in this lineup, and lefties can get to it. I mean, think about the 2 guys we brought up, Jensen and Caglianone, both left-handed. Mm-hmm. Vinny Pasquantino, left-handed. Yaz as your best leadoff hitter, probably. Left-handed. So he's still a guy who can provide some value down the stretch if possible.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, his value is a replacement for Randall Grichuk, who hasn't been good up to this point. I mean, Grichuk isn't hitting lefties, righties, in-betweenies. He's not hitting anything right now. He's not hitting water if he falls out of a friggin' boat at this moment. And so India as an option to sort of maybe DH on the days, because they don't face that many lefties. They're going to face 2 in this Cleveland series, though. They're going to face Logan Allen, and they're going to face this other kid, Joey Cantillo, I think, or something. And so they're going to need to have some guys who can hit lefties, and Grichuk looks absolutely lost at the plate, just lost completely at the plate. And so, I don't have a problem if India at least gives them another right-handed option. What I don't want to see is India come up and bye-bye Carter Jensen or bye-bye Jack Caglianone. That makes no sense whatsoever. But hopefully that this gets India some other time for stuff to heal. India's been one of the most beaten up players on the roster, on any roster I can ever remember, honestly. Hit by pitches. The man has been
not
kicked
necessarily
and cleated.
IL stints, but he's gotten,
No,
he's gotten
but
hit
he's
by
just
the
getting
ball a bunch
abused
of
out there a
times.
bunch of times on the
Like,
base paths and in the batter's box. Like, the dude's been beat up more than anybody I've ever seen. He hasn't missed any time as far as I can recall on the IL this year, but a few days off are probably good for him mentally, for sure, but also physically. Just let your body get some rest, man. You've been punished out there on the baseball field, and so we'll see what that ends up coming to. On the field last week, the Royals had a pretty lopsided week, as I mentioned, which ultimately led them to 500. You know, they dropped the opening series to the Angels 2-1, and then took the first 2 games of the Twin series before dropping a chance at a sweep today. Losing that Angels series was a real bummer for the Royals fan base, and it sort of, if we go back and we point to a moment when they didn't make the playoffs, that might be the moment for me. Is the moment they dropped that series, but they bounced back a little bit with the Twin series, drop a tough one today. Mike, how do you feel about the week overall?
bad. I felt bad about the week overall because after that Angels series where the offense just couldn't give you enough and you felt like, oh my God, and you feel like, oh my God, this is slipping away and I'm watching it happen. Like it's happening right here.
It's how I imagine those people who talk about like going down the road and then they notice that one of their tires is rolling next to them, and they're like, what? It's like the thing started to fall apart.
Fell off. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. It's what it felt like in that Angel series. You're going, damn, now this is not working. Damn, now this isn't working. It's like, fuck. You felt so bad. So you go, okay, well, we need to sweep this Twin series then. Have to sweep the Twin series. Get those 2 wins in the first game. You beat Pablo Lopez, returning to, Major League Baseball after the 60-day IL stint. You get him in game 1 and you beat him, right? That's freaking awesome. Then you knock Joe Ryan out of a game. You're like, we can't lose, baby. And then today comes and you lose that game. And it's like, this is opportunity week, and we did not run with it. Oh my gosh. Yes, that was so tough.
Today was one of the most mistake-ridden games I've seen the Royals play in a while. Tons of guys left on base, many on third with less than 2 outs. I mean, mistakes on the base paths, defensive mistakes, mental defensive mistakes, not just like dove for a ball and when you shouldn't have. I'm talking like let a guy like that double steal. Like what the hell was that? You got beat on a little league play. What are you doing? It's just It was rough. It was rough to see. A lot of just stuff, slipped opportunities, just mistakes. So many mistakes. It did. They're making things harder on themselves this week because coming into this week, this homestand, you and I are like, hey, they need to go 5-1. They need to sweep one of these and take 2 from another. They lose the first 2, they lose the first 2 of the whole homestand, and we're like, well, shit. Like now, they're in trouble, but at least they got to sweep the next one. Didn't happen again, and so now they've sort of put themselves in a position. They're 2 back from Seattle, 2 games back Seattle, half a game back from the Rangers, who aren't even in the last playoff spot, and this week basically didn't help them at all overall in the wild card chase, but they lost another week. Like they're running out of time is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Time is no longer their friend, and
it's their enemy.
Yeah, the opportunity lost seems pretty large.
They did grab some wins. We mentioned some high points. Mike, who was your strong performer for the week?
Oh, gonna revisit it because, like I said, I'm firmly on the Stephen Kolek bandwagon. Stephen Kolek, we were at the game last night. He looked fantastic. The 4-seamer was going 95. The changeup was going 88. Like that's a hard changeup for Stephen Kolek. He was getting the ground balls like crazy, and it was really good to see him because they got up so early. They said, "Okay, Kolek, stay in," and he just was like, "All right, I got it." Other than that 1 inning, he was just fantastic. So 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, just 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. What do we call it? Like a pinnacle Stephen Kolek outing right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what a Stephen Kolek outing should look like when it's going really well.
Yeah. He's never going to be 7 or 8 strikeouts per 8 inning kind of, or, in 7 innings kind of guy. It's going to be 4 strikeouts, but very few walks, a lot of ground balls. And that's what it was. And it was great to see. Good defense played behind him for the most part. Nick Lofton put together some good plays at third. Michael Garcia put together some great plays at short. Isbell was all over the outfield as usual. But that's what he'll need. That's what he is. Speaking of Nick Lofton, he's my strong performer for this week because, when he has a good week, I'm probably going to crow about it because he's my boy, kind of. He went 5 for 13 with 3 doubles, 2 RBI, 0 walks, and 1 strikeout. I think maybe the most impressive thing about this is
That was
Nick
all in
Lofton.
Saturday's game. He just
No,
did
it
all
wasn't.
that in Saturday's
That's
game.
not. He hit a double today. He had 3 hits in Saturday's game. But the impressive thing about it is he doesn't get to play that much, and so when he does and he performs, that's all the more impressive and important to me. Like, it's hard to get into a rhythm when you play once every 4 or 5 days, and that's how often he was playing there for a while. I mean, they want to treat him like a lefty specialist, but he's really not. He doesn't have like enormous splits that I know of. It's just he doesn't get to play very often. But then Bobby Witt Jr. goes down. Michael Garcia slides over to short. Lofton gets to play a little bit more at third the last few days, and he's done an excellent job. He's made a bunch of excellent plays in the field, and he's hitting for extra bases. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I'm telling you right now, the only thing that makes Nick Lofton different than Michael Garcia, besides Garcia's ability to play short, is bat speed. If Nick Lofton can get to Michael Garcia bat speed, training in the offseason, can contact the ball as hard as he does, he's an everyday player if he wants to be. Mike, not everybody was all over it. Who were your week performers for this week?
Had to go with Yaz for the week performer, Mike Yastrzemski. I love what he's done. I like the role that they've put him in. I think it suits him. And even as the week went on, I didn't go, oh man, Yaz is costing us. I just, he had a few walks. He scored some runs. He just wasn't very good overall. Just 2 for 21, 1 double, 1 RBI, the 3 walks I mentioned, and 3 strikeouts. I don't think there's any reason to panic or anything like that. Keep Yaz exactly in that role because I think it's a good one for him.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. The plate appearances are still good. He's still walking a little bit, getting on base in some key moments. That's what you need from him. My week performer for this week is a guy I'm also not worried about because it's pretty clear what he is now at this point in his career. That's Kyle Isbell. He went 3 for 16 with 1 double, 1 RBI, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a couple big hits in there, a couple RBI hits, or at least 1 RBI hit. Played his usual good defense, although he did almost drop one today. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Routine fly ball in the sun. The sun got the best of him there for a second, but he ended up still catching it. It was pretty cool. But we sort of know that what Kyle Isbell is your 9-hitter. He is your rotational center fielder, and he's going to only probably get you 85 weighted runs created plus on a season. That's what he is. Even in the best, most advantageous offensive position of only facing right-handers, he's probably only going to give you 85. So they may be looking to replace him in the next year or two, maybe a Carson Rockefeller or something like that, because it's tough to pay Kyle Isbell starter money for not a starter level of performance. And so, we'll see how that ends up working out. Mike, a complicated week emotionally, this last week. I got a lot of fans sort of getting in their feels in my DMs. What is your theme for this last week?
Well, I went back to one that we go to often, a well that we visit often because the words are as good as you will hear in music today. I went with Jason Isbell's song, King of Oklahoma. There's a line in there that says, now my back's still hurting and I'm too weak for working and I can't keep up with all the bills. I thought this was apt for 2 reasons. One, we lost Bobby Witt Jr. to back spasms this week. Yeah. And so not sure where that's going. A little bit afraid. But also, like, we can't keep up with all the bills right now. Like, we're falling behind on these things constantly right now. And it's try to pay this one, whack-a-mole, here comes another one. And, need to get 3 games in a series, you get 2, but Seattle loses a game, so you feel like you're still in it, like that sort of stuff it's wearing on us in this playoff race.
Yeah, I will say that I think somebody reported today, I think Ann Rogers, that the MRI on Bobby's back was clean. And so
that's good.
There's good news there. They're just waiting for the spasming to stop happening and for him to feel loose enough to go out and play again. So, yeah, but that is poignant, and keeping up with all the bills you've hit it on the nose with how it feels. Sort of trying to tally how'd the Rangers do and how'd the Mariners do and how many games do we need to pick up here? And you're like,
what games do we have left there?
It's getting pretty taxing. Yeah. I went with the one that's really about emotions because after the game today, I got a bunch of people being angry about various things. A lot of them Matt Quatrero, which is normal. But it was interesting to me because I kept seeing a refrain thrown out by people who were angry that was just like, this game was over before it started. And they were sort of blaming Matt Quatrero for the lineup he put out, which we're going to be critical of ourselves.
I kind of was too. I'm
but,
with you, people.
But what's weird is if the Royals lose, I actually hear that every single time. The lineup was shit. He put out a shit lineup like every time. But it made me think about like feelings and sort of how people process being a fan of something. So I went to this great line from the Simon and Garfunkel's "I Am a Rock." If any of you have ever heard it, the line is, "Hiding in my room, safe within my womb. I touch no one and no one touches me. I am a rock." Mike, I am an
I can't Garfunkel.
I thought you were gonna harmonize with me. And then here's the key.
Garfunkel.
Here's the key point. And a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries. See, that's the whole point. In the last line, you get the sense of fragility from the person who's like trying to isolate themselves, and that's what it really is. So, I'm just throwing out like right now we're all in our feels and we're throwing it out there. All you're really doing is trying to protect yourself with an ideology like game was over before it started. That's a defense mechanism. So just
one I search out often.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by All in Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they now offer strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
I'm looking to get yoked for a tug of war down at the senior center. I'm coming for you, Blanche, and your grandson can't save you this time. Okay.
And of course, All in Physical Therapy. And of course, All in Physical Therapy offers the best in recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of that recently replaced hip, knee, shoulder, elbow, you name it.
That's why I got to get yoked. All these seniors got replacement joints. It's like tugging around Transformer here. Megatron just on my hips and shoulders. I'm too old for that.
If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from an injury, check out All in Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call or shoot them a text, or no, give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. That's probably not a cell phone. We've seen about a week's worth of Jack Caglianone and Carter Jensen in Major League Baseball together, so I think it's time to offer thoughts on their performance and their usage. So far, Matt Quatrero has been very, we'll say deliberate in his usage of both of them. Very scarce. Today, for example, both lefties sat against a right-handed pitcher. Instead, Luke Maile and Randall Grichuk went out there and went a combined 1 for 5. Maile did end up getting a single in his, I think 1 for 6 actually in his last plate appearance. Mike, let's start with their performance. How do you feel Caglianone and Jensen have performed so far?
Honestly, I've really liked the limited at-bats that I've gotten to see from those two. Cags hit the ball really well last night. He had 2 hits, I think. He had another hard line drive that was an out to like deep center. He was really on the ball, and he was really swinging at pitches that he should be swinging at. Jensen, I've mostly liked what I've seen too at the plate. That first at bat wasn't great, but it was his first at bat, and he I'm sure was quite geeked up for that. He was also the very last out of a game. Love when a manager puts a guy in that situation for his first at bat in Major League Baseball. But I've liked the approach. He got a hit last night too. He got his first Major League hit. When you look at him take at bats, you go, damn, like this guy isn't swinging unless it's somewhere he can really hit it. And I like that approach, and I like the swing. I don't know why they won't give him the ability to catch, except for in that blowout yesterday. I don't know, but I've really liked what I've seen from both. And I'm a somewhat of not a Cags skeptic. I think his potential is through the roof, and I think he's going to be a great player. but I was skeptical of them bringing him up. But I have seen a little bit better plate appearances since he's been up this time.
Yeah, I have too, and I wrote a big whole thing about it for the Substack today. I'll sort of talk a little bit about what I think are the two big points, right? And in the way his adjustment has changed or his approach has changed at the plate is he is now very keenly aware of swinging at pitches in the lower third, right? And so what you see when you look at sort of the heat maps and stuff like that of what he's done since he's been back, you see a concerted effort to not swing at pitches in the lower third or on the outer edge, especially early in counts, because those are the pitches he's going to hit on the ground, right? So very clearly they talked to him and they're like, you have 50% ground ball rate your first stint in the majors. That can't happen. You're like the most dangerous power hitter we've seen in a while. You can't be putting the ball on the ground. Like you got to hit it in the air, which means you need to be patient enough to wait for pitches that are going to be top 2/3 otherwise, right? Like unless you have two strikes and you gotta survive, you gotta stop swinging. And then the other thing would be, Mike, I don't know if you've noticed, it looks like he's swinging in his first stint. The pitch could be 8 inches off the plate and he would swing. In this latest stint, it's looking like he's chasing way fewer what would be considered waste pitches, even or chase pitches way outside the strike zone. He'll go for a pitch in the shadow. He'll go for some pitches just outside.
It was way too much. Yeah,
fewer. He did one today in his final at bat where he actually ended up fouling it off, but he's doing better leaving those ones that are way outside. He's shrunk his own personal strike zone to get at least a little bit closer to the actual strike zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, let's talk about usage a little bit. What have you thought of their usage so far? Are those two guys getting enough PT or what?
I think this is insanity. Like, this is insane to bring these guys up. We said it when Quatrero said something that was extremely troubling, where he said, yeah, we brought him up to pinch hit and pinch run. And you're going, uh-oh, that's a fucking terrible idea.
The hell you want Jack Caglianone to pinch run for?
Yeah. Why? Why would you do that? That's so stupid. It's I can't explain it. Like, they both got a start last night. They both did really, really well. And, you know, they both took a walk today. I mean, they both pinch hit today. How that doesn't make sense. Why would you pinch hit them? Just play them. Just start them in the game. What are you doing? Like, is Luke Maile giving you so much behind the plate that you're like, we don't need to score runs today? Are you, what, how, who thinks that? Who thinks that? Is Randall Grichuk giving you so much that you're like, nope, can't put Jack Caglianone in there. He only had 2 hits yesterday and what should have been a third. Like, this is insane. It's insane
and
to me that
what did Grichuk give you? He gave you 0 for 3. He gave you 2 ground balls to short and a check swing ground ball to first, I think. I mean, nothing special, nothing like, whoa, those are great at bats. Nothing like.
Yeah, and if you weren't going to do that, why'd you bring him up? You know, if you weren't going to actually play him in real things, and because okay, I'm done. Soapbox off. They should be playing more, both of them.
Yeah, they should be playing more. They definitely should have played today. So today is the lineup people are pissed at the most. And that is basically that Grichuk and Maile started against a right-hander.
Grichuk can't hit righters. It's one of the only things we know about him.
Yeah, he can't hit righties. Right now he can't hit lefties either, but like he really can't hit righties. But they put him in probably because he's a veteran on the team who hasn't played in a while, haven't faced a lefty in very long. You want to get him, you want to stay like somewhat warm and stuff like that. But no, Grichuk, that's not your role at 34 years old. Your role is to just hit lefties, strong platoon. If it means you don't get to play for 7 days, then it means you don't get to play for 7 days. Like that's just your role at this point. Like I understand you're like, oh, well, we'll take batting practice, take extra batting practice, stay warm. But if you can't be the short side of a platoon, if you have to play more than that to stay in rhythm or whatever, then you're no use to us. You're of no use to us. And really, Grichuk, you're of no use to any other team either, honestly. Like, because your performance against righties is so bad that if we have to pay you against some righties, we're hurting ourselves. And so, no, thank you. Yeah. Mike, the Royals are long shots to make the playoffs at this point. Do they need to take a big swing like playing Jensen and Cags virtually every day and just hoping they break out? Do they need to figure out a way to get those two in the lineup, even with a Salvi and a Pasquantino and so forth, and just hope it works out?
I'll answer that here in a second. Do you have the hiccups again?
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah, wow. That's 2 shows in a row now, if you were listening to our midweek episode. Anyway, to me, playing Cags and playing Jensen significantly, and I don't want to say relying on them because you never want to do that for guys that are that young, but to me, that's their only hope. So it kind of is relying on them. Like, they have the most hitting talent in that box of anybody on that team outside of Bobby Witt Jr. and probably Michael Garcia now, certainly Salvi has the power and he can get on a hot streak and turn a team into a, kind of carry part of a lineup. He can do that still, but it's so inconsistent at this point, especially with as many games as he's been catching, that you kind of have to say, maybe we can catch lightning in a bottle and Jensen and Cags can come up and tap into the power that they both have and really boost a lineup. That's your really only shot, especially when you consider the starting rotation is still hurt as Lugo goes out this week. The bullpen, I don't want to say that they've been good. They've been solid. I've seen mostly good things except for Daniel Lynch out of them, but they've been tired before, so you need that spark. You got to win a lot of games in a short period of time.
Yeah, big offense might be their only path forward at this point. Like,
it really is. They need to get on a home run heater like they were at the beginning of August.
Yeah, offense surges and they make it through some of the bumpy starts that they might get from a Lorenzen or a Kolek or whoever,
Noah Cameron's had a couple bumpy ones.
Noah Cameron, he's had a couple rough ones. That might be their only option for a playoff push, really. I mean, the days of, we sort of during the first half, we sort of always said like, oh, if their offense was even league average, we'd be in great shape, right? Like, but that's not even the case anymore because their pitching staff has started to fall apart, and so average isn't probably good enough to make up the ground they got to make up. It's got to be exceptional.
I will mention this: the Reagans thing does intrigue me. If you do get him back and he's anything like that, it's not going to take your team from not making the playoffs to making it, but I'll just be intrigued to see how he throws when he gets back and who they kick out and how that all works out. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
If they choose to even throw him, we'll see.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy we do? Retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxer of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
I got my pool floaties and my SPF 50 ready to go. Give me the word and I will abandon my family. I will do that. Think about it every day.
Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxer of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
I'm thinking of getting a place so I can reverse snowbird it. It's like Missouri when it's cold as the Arctic and Arizona when it's hotter than the devil's crotch sweat.
That sounds like a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
Find Eric Oxer of West USA Realty online at ericoxer.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. It's not an exaggeration to say that the next week is the most important road trip of the season for the Royals. They'll head to Cleveland for 4 games and then Philadelphia for 3 games, so it's a full slate of games this week. They are going on the road against an average team in Cleveland and a great team in Philadelphia. They need wins, though, so they got to do well in these 2 series. Mike, tell us about the Cleveland Guardians.
Well, I would love to tell you about the Cleveland Guardians. But I have no information about the Cleveland Guardians right now.
I'll find that. You have plenty of information.
The Cleveland Guardians are behind us in the wild card.
They're 72 and 70.
72,
one game behind us.
Sorry,
half a game.
half a game behind us in the wild card. Just bunched right up there against us. They got 2 pitchers on like permanent leave right now for possible gambling stuff, including their all-star closer, Emmanuel Clace. In that first game, we should see Ryan Bergert versus. Yep, is his name Slade? Slade. It's got to be Slade. Slade. Well, do you see that?
Oh, that's sorry.
Do you see how it's spelled? Typo,
yeah,
Mr. Typo.
Yeah,
I don't know
typo.
the guy. Have you ever heard of Slade?
Has anybody heard? He doesn't know how to pronounce the last name either.
Ciccone? I don't know him. I don't know
Ciccone?
the guy.
I imagine
Ciccone?
it's Ciccone.
It's probably Ciccone. You're right. 26-year-old righty out of the University of Miami. He's got a 4.78 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP. A four-seam fastball at 94 to 95, a slider, a curveball, a sinker, a changeup, and a cutter. Limits walks, just 5.7% on the walk rate. Gives up a ton of hard contact, though. 50% hard hit rate for Slade. And need to touch Slade up quite a bit, give him an intro. I assume he's never pitched against the Royals because I've never heard of this guy. In game 2, it'll be Noah Cameron versus Joey Cantillo. Cantillo, I think is how they pronounce it. 25-year-old lefty out of Kailua High School in Hawaii. All right, Hawaii guy. 3.73 ERA, 1.40 WHIP. So good ERA, not great WHIP. Wonder what this guy's up to. Four-seamer, 91 to 92, a changeup, a curveball, and a slider. He strikes out a pretty high number at 27.7%, but walks a lot of guys, and that's why the WHIP is so high.
That's why the WHIP's high and the ERA is low. He strikes them out once they get on base.
Wild stuff. 12.2% on the walk rate. Big-time curveball. It's his best-rated pitch. That's going to be a challenge, I feel like. Lefty against our good lefties, good curveball.
The curveball's good, but he throws the fastball and changeup the most.
Yeah, but
that's mostly because he faces righties. Honestly,
yeah, 27% strikeout rate though is fucking good. So
I'll have to be very patient.
What are you joking, Jokey McJoke Maker?
No, they were against
Joe Ryan. They were
Joe Ryan. They were.
Yeah. All right. In game 3, here's to hoping we can get that guy. In game 3, it'll be Michael Wacha against Logan Allen, a guy we do have experience against. 27-year-old lefty out of Florida International University, 4.46 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP. Logan Allen was a big-time prospect for the Guardians, wasn't he? Or am I thinking of a different Logan Allen?
I think you might be thinking of a different Logan Allen.
I think I am. He lives on inducing weak contact, not a big strikeout guy. He relies on, he's crafty. He's a crafty lefty. Mixes his pitches a lot. Nothing more than 35% and nothing less than 11%. So soft tossing, crafty lefty. Michael Wacha has been really good, though. Kind of the anchor to this rotation. Hopefully he can give us another good one. And then comes my boy in game 4, Stephen Kolek against Gavin Williams, a guy we've seen a couple times this year. Did we see him game 1 of the year? Was he their opening day starter? I think he might have been.
My memory is not that good.
26-year-old righty out of East Carolina, 3.17 ERA. And a 1.29 WHIP. He's got a four-seam fastball at 96 to 97, a curveball, a sweeper, a cutter, and a sinker. His expected ERA is a bit higher at 4.47. He walks a lot of guys. He's got a 12% walk rate.
4.45, actually.
Sorry, 4.45, but doesn't strike out very many at 23. 23 is not terrible. 22%
it's about league average.
Not terrible. About league average on Gavin Williams there. So that'll be an interesting one with Kolek. Kind of contrasting styles there between Kolek and Gavin Williams, but. Got to win 3 of these, right? At least.
Oh, yeah. At least, yeah.
At least 3 of these.
Because then they're going to go to Philly and things are going to get harder, like significantly harder.
Much more difficult.
The Phillies are 83 and 60, which is good for first in the NL East by 7 games. Their offense, very good. 108 weighted runs created plus from them. That's 8th in Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber mashes. He's got a 152 weighted runs created plus. They traded for Harrison Bader at the deadline with the Twins, who we just saw. He's got a 142 weighted runs created plus. He's doing great. And, of course, Bryce Harper, 132 weighted runs created plus, still banging them out there. They did, however, maybe just lose Trey Turner today because I saw he got removed from the game with some sort of hamstring strain or something like that. So maybe down one Trey Turner there. The pitching staff, though, is also quite good, though they are down a big piece as well. They have an 8.1 or a 3.81 ERA, which is good for 7th in Major League Baseball. Zach Wheeler was or is their ace. He has a 2.71 ERA this year, but he is now on the 60-day IL with thoracic outlet syndrome. So
ouch.
He's done for
that hurts.
That's what I've heard. But they do have a very deep rotation. Ranger Suarez, 2.89 ERA. Christopher Sanchez, 2.60 ERA. Taijuan Walker and Jesus Luzardo are both having decent years as well. There's no, if they don't have the top end with Wheeler, but they're deep in that rotation. They're deeper in that bullpen, which they also made better at the deadline.
Yeah, but you want that top end guy when you get in the playoffs, especially.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're going to miss that come playoff time, but it's not going to be as big of a deal when they're facing the Kansas City Royals. Mike, how many wins do they need to get out of this week?
Oh boy, 7 games.
They're 2 games back of Seattle, half game back from Texas.
You got to get 5 or 6. Yeah, 5 I'd say at least.
Yeah. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just About Outside segment where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike, it is always your turn when we always start with you at this. So blow us away, man. What was your last week like?
I mean, my last week is extremely normal. I've been fortunate enough to have my in-laws in town. They've done a bunch of fun, cool things with my son and helped us out a little bit around the house. It's been nice, but the thing that inspired my Just a Bit Outside this week was my wife was watching TV and I walked in and she watches just absolute trash, trash television. I mean, it's terrible reality garbage. But I happened to catch a snippet of it and it kind of sparked something in my head. I was like, man, these people have these conflicts, right? These manufactured conflicts, right? On these reality TV shows. And I just started to realize 98% of those manufactured conflicts would be negated if the person just didn't give a shit about what the other person thought.
That is the center of a lot of those conflicts. They're not real, mind you. They may not actually care, but that's sort of what manufactured.
These aren't.
That's what the conflict. That's what is the center of it, right? Yeah.
Right. And I mean, if you watch sitcoms and other creative endeavors, as reality TV really is, it's the same thing. If you stopped and asked yourself, wait, if that person didn't give a shit about what other people thought, would there be a show right now?
No.
And that's the thing that kind of gets me is I see it often because I teach an age group that what other people thinks matters is extremely huge in this age group, right? It's like your identifying characteristic for every person in the age group I teach. But that's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying this because I see it all the time from people in our age group, which seems kind of silly to be damn near 40 and care about what other people think. Now, I'm not perfect at this, but I aspire to be perfect at this someday. I aspire to not give a shit about what anybody else thinks unless they have my same last name. Unless they are personally related to me, I don't care about what you think. Okay? And that's where I aspire to be. I feel like I'm pretty good about it with strangers. I don't really care what strangers think. That's why I drive the car that I drive. I wear the clothes I wear. I say what I want to say. But what, I still care about what some of the people I know think and stuff. I'd like to get rid of that at some point too, just because it makes your life so much better. I don't have to sit and worry about what I'm wearing. I don't care what other people think, how I look. I don't give a shit what you think. When you can get rid of those things, especially it helps so much with spending money as well. You and I have talked a lot about this.
Status symbols, not important.
When you stop caring about the phone that you have and the car that you drive and the home you live in and all that sort of stuff, you can
are
save
now
a ton
no
of money.
longer beholden to the people around you. That's what it is for me. I don't want to be beholden to you to tell me who I am and my worth. I don't want that. That sounds bad for me.
I don't think of it that deeply. For me, it's more like I'm super lazy and can't keep up with caring about what other people think. But
that too. That seems like a full-time job for some people.
So, yeah. But I just thought about that. If it's something you would say would end a sitcom because it would make no logical sense if they just didn't care about what other people think, then I try not to think about that either.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of my week this last week was taken up with the notion of me working on my basement. So I spent quite a bit of time this last week doing some tuck pointing and stone work in my basement. I'm basically a mason in my free time.
Yeah, no big deal. Marc's a bricklayer now, guys.
Yeah, I'm a brick, except it's field stone. But yeah, whatever. Okay. Get your head out of your ass.
You got to know your different kinds of stones there, Mikey. Come on.
Yeah, Mike. But it was interesting because Saturday, me and my partner sort of had this day laid out where we were going to work on the basement. And like we wanted to make all this big progress, but she wasn't having a great morning and all this sort of stuff. We sort of took our time and maybe didn't make as much progress on it as we had hoped on that day. But we still made significant progress and it still got really good. And it got me thinking about the notion of like setting goals and achieving them, and also like having the grace to know that any progress at all is a good thing, is a positive. It's I think about this in lots of different instances. I teach writing, and so you know how sometimes students or any writer, they're great at procrastination. They have trouble getting started and stuff like that. And I try and tell students working on big projects and stuff like that, like if you can get yourself to make some progress today, that's better than nothing, right? Like it's better to write for 30 minutes than write for 0 minutes. And once you get started, maybe you'll keep going and that sort of thing. Just these sort of things that remind us that like it's okay to fall short, but still call it a win. It's like in your personal life, especially like, and
Yeah.
so, yeah,
I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at this, by the way. Listeners, if you want to know me personally, I'm terrible at what Marc is talking about.
I'm great at it. I see it as like giving myself grace, like
I can't do that. I torture myself.
a lot of people,
I don't meet a goal. I torture myself.
There's something about like Catholicism mixed with capitalism that just makes people like, destroy themselves for like not getting the entire basement done or not,
Exactly. Yeah.
doing this, or it's like, you're not helping yourself at all. It's almost like you're now like punishing yourself for having been punished. It's like, it's a bad thing. It's a bad system. And I just want everybody to know that like, it's good to show yourself that kind of grace. It's good to, in the long run, it will ultimately also make you more productive. There are people who lie to themselves and who tell themselves, oh, if I just torture myself enough, then I'll definitely get it done next time. And it's like, what are you talking about?
You're talking to one of them.
You're just making yourself miserable. You're not helping in any way. All the psychology says you're actually more likely to not do it next time because you've tortured yourself. It's just, it's not good at all. Give yourself grace. If you make any progress at all, you're doing great. Going to the gym, if you make it to the gym, you did great. Good job. Like you don't have to stay for 2 hours. You don't have to go every single day. You made it this week. That's a win. Next week, take another win. Just keep taking wins as much as you can. That's all we have for you this week. Hopefully the Royals take some wins this week, at least 5 of them. But we'll see on that front. We'll be back again next week. Make sure you're subscribing to that Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. Make sure you're rating and reviewing. We'll be back next week for more Royals stuff. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.